Well, as a Marxist, I think, as you know as well as I do, you got to begin with the real world, what's happening all around us, and the crisis, the crisis of capitalism. It takes many, many forms, not just the economic, but also the political repercussions of it. And I claim that you can't make sense of the Trump moment, without understanding the crisis of capitalism. Think about it, just us, our generation. Um, uh, we enjoyed a lot. We had opportunities that sadly the working class, working people will not have. I tell my students oftentimes that the best that capitalism has to offer the working class, that's behind us. That's a very sobering reality. And if you look at the Biden administration's new budget, the forecast. It's based upon a set of assumptions. The forecast look economic growth around about 2%, 2.11%. That's that's anemic. It's what what's his name calls secular stagflation. This is the reality. This is what is ahead of the working class, and it has all kinds of repercussions, not just in this country, but else in other countries around the world. Looking at the recent World Bank estimates on growth, and looking at the gap between what's happening in the advanced capitalist world and what's going on in the United States. This, to me, I think, is very sobering evidence that indeed the best that capitalism has to offer working people, that's behind us.
How do you think that plays out? In other words, what are the implications, I guess is what I mean, of that sobering reality? Where does that lead? Where do you think that leads this country?
Well, I think it goes a long way in explaining the phenomenon of quote unquote polarization, tribalism in U.S. politics and so on. And it's the shrinking economic pie. And once the pie is shrinking, there's a tendency on the part of people to think about how can I get the best, what's left, the declining amount for my group, for my tribe, my people, my nation, my workplace, my factory, and so on. And so, yes, I think this phenomenon that political scientists have difficulty in explaining, the polarization, the depolarization within U.S. politics, can be traced to the crisis of capitalism. And Trump was a product of that. Trump was a product of that, and because of that crisis, Trump is not going away. Trumpism is not going away. What I've been on a campaign, Rick, is to try to get people, especially young people, to not freak out about the Trump administration and what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017. You and I are old enough to remember what white supremacy was really like. we got to remember that. We have to tell young people, no. Let me tell you about white supremacy. Now, I grew up in a world in New Orleans. I grew up in Jim Crow. The first time I tried to register to vote, they wouldn't allow me to vote. And so that was white supremacy, man. And so what we had is this reaction to the crisis. Yes, the tribalism, the so-called tribalism that was promoted by the ruling class. Trump was simply a representative of that. But what's so different is we have opportunities today that we didn't have before. And I keep telling people, look at the George Floyd protests. In the 1960s, when there were anti-police brutality protests, they were exclusively African Americans in the streets. Exclusively. Look at what's just happened. This has been a multiracial development. That has never happened before. If white supremacy was triumphant, you wouldn't have that. Right. You wouldn't have these kinds of multiracial demonstrations. And so it means that we have opportunities to do things that your and our generation did not have in terms of cutting through all of the divisions that the ruling class promotes to divide us on the basis of skin color.